Thank you, Chair DeLauro. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before the House Appropriations Committee on Members Day. I'm here as chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus to discuss critical matters of importance to the Hispanic communities, such as reducing health disparities, supporting families and children, protecting the health, safety, and welfare of workers, and improving our immigration system. We are working closely with our CHC appropriators, Representative Lucille Roybal Allard, Henry Cuellar, Pete Aguilar, Norma Torres, and Adriano Espaillat, to advance our caucus's priorities. We followed a strong methodology in collaboration with CHC members, Appropriations Subcommittee staff, and many stakeholders such as Unidos US, the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, and the National Immigration Law Center, amongst others. Well, we compiled several priorities under each subcommittee, many of which have a CHC member sponsor. Today, I am here to address specific priorities that the CHC supports as a collective. To the Subcommittee on Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and related agencies, the caucus asks for the Department of Labor's wage and hours divisions to be funded at $298 million to help safeguard the health and welfare of workers, including migrant and seasonal agricultural workers. The Advisory Committee on Minority Health account to include report language addressing the physician shortage crisis, which is especially pronounced in underserved communities. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention account to include report language to conduct vaccine outreach with community health workers like promotoras and have coronavirus vaccines available in immigrant detention facilities across the nation. And lastly, the Office of Refugee Resettlement account to include report language to create a humanitarian civilian response team of medical providers and child care professionals that can be deployed to help with high surges of unaccompanied children. To the Subcommittee on Legislative Branch, the caucus asks for the House of Representatives Office of Diversity and Inclusion to be funded at $3 million and include report language to allow DACA holders to receive payment for work in Congress. To the Subcommittee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration and related agencies, the caucus asks for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to be funded at $6.6 billion. To the Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, Science, and related agencies, the caucus asks for the Emergency Benefit Broadband Program to be funded at $24 billion, the Pro Bono Legal Representation During Removal Proceeding Program to be funded at $200 million, the Office of Legal Access Programs under the Office of Policy to be funded at $50 million, and the Hispanic Serving Institutions Undergraduate Program under the National Science Foundation to be funded at $55 million. For the Subcommittee on Transportation and Housing and Urban Development and related agency, the caucus asks for the Public and Indian Housing account to include report language to encourage the Department of Housing and Urban Development to improve the administration of aid for natural disaster relief efforts in Puerto Rico. To the Subcommittee on Homeland Security, the caucus asks for the U.S. Immigration Custom Enforcement account to include report language to authorize a spectrum of alternatives to detention. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection account to include report language to establish standards of health, nutrition, shelter, water, and hygiene for immigrants detained in CBP custody, and the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services account to include report language to restrict funds that may be used to administer an immigration and naturalization benefits program that eliminates any category of eligibility for fee waivers. We sincerely appreciate your consideration to this important caucus priorities. While we submitted more requests, we will include them in the statement for the record, given the time constraints. I appreciate you, and I thank you for this consideration.